Okay, neighbors' kids are all out playing. It's 4th of July weekend. Or it's approaching. They're loud. You're gonna have to bear with me. Anyway, three basic types of reels. You got a spin caster, which is basically a closed-faced reel. It's got a push button on the back, drag on top, and crank on the side. This is a spin caster. It's a closed-face reel. Then you've got a bait caster, which is a spooled reel, which cranks on the side. It's got usually a balance on one side, with the newer ones like these have magnets on the outside, and on the other side it has a, as you can see on this one, um, another spindle that tightens down, that it's a spring on one side, and then the magnets are on the other side. Then you've got your drag, which is on this one by the handle. Wow. Sorry about that. Then you've got the open face spinning reels, which down here, we'll get into those some other time. But the basic setup that I use while catfishing is pretty universal. If you've got flowing water and a pretty decent current, you'll want to actually put your sinker on the very bottom of your line, say here, instead of the hook. What I've got here is a setup that you put your sinker on first, and you want a slip sinker that your line will go all the way through, so that whenever it's resting on bottom here, the fish can pull the line back and forth, and then you'll tie a swivel onto your line, and you'll have another piece of line tied onto the other side. The swivel will rotate 365 degrees without getting tangled up on itself, while the weight still sits on the bottom. Then down at the end of the line that you just tied onto your swivel, you're going to tie your hook, which I use a number 2 bait holder, which has barbs on the back side of it to hold the bait on a little bit better. And it's got a hook on, or a barb on the end of the hook here, right here where my thumb is. So this way, while your weight is sitting on bottom, the line can come back and forth through the weight. Now, if you've got a lot of current, you want to have the weight actually on the bottom where the hook is. Then you'll have your swivel up above that, and on the top part of the swivel, you'll have not only this line here, but you'll have another piece of line coming off. So you'll have a line here with the weight at the bottom, and then you'll have another line tied at the same place with the bait, so that while the hook is pretending to be the sinker here on bottom, you've got tension on your line, and your other line holding your bait is swinging off in the current, and then something can come by and pick it up without getting tangled up on bottom like this would. But this is for more of lakes and slow moving streams and currents. That way you can see your line move out as the fish picks the line up and takes off, or it'll drop and get really slack suddenly, at which time you just pick your line up and you'll know that the fish is on there. Once you start to see the line move out, it's fine. Go ahead and set the hook on him, because you know he's got it in his mouth at that point. But that's basic fishing setup for catfish. Now, where you're going to want to fish is, find a muddy area, like you were talking about. They'll dig up into the mud banks if there's a steep slope, or if there's a tree with a root wad. They'll get close to that root wad and tunnel into the dirt, so they've got a hole back in there where they can rest, and whenever they feel like feeding, they'll come out of the hole and sit there in the current and let the bait come by and come to them for the most part. But if they smell something upstream, that's when they'll go out hunting for the bait. If you see root wads or a tree overhanging some water that you know there's a steep slope underneath of it, that's a good place to throw a line. If you're going to set limb lines, check them every 20 minutes. Just, tie a piece of line onto the limb, make it to where it's going to sit on bottom or close to it. Just a little split shot sinker that'll clamp onto the line is sufficient. And then, if you see any limbs bouncing while you're out setting more limb lines, go back and get your fish. Anyways, that's about the best advice I can do as far as reels and how to set up for catfish. Like I said, if they feel your weight, most of the time it's whenever they feel the pole bounce, and they'll move on to something else. But if they don't ever feel the weight of the pole, that's whenever you've got them in the kill zone. But good luck, and many fish to you.